I would like to, first of all, acknowledge those that are here. I would like to say just how much it is a privilege and an honor to stand before God's people and to stand before the citizens of this great nation, the United States of America. I chose this opportunity on this day to come before this nation. And I am certain that this is being broadcast someplace around the world. And I want the citizens of those nations to understand what we, the people of these United States of America, truly believe and what we think. I want the people to understand that we are separate from the government. And there are many times, more than not, that the government do not speak for the people. It is a privilege and an honor to stand here today on what is considered Veterans Day. I am proud to be a veteran of the United States Army. I am proud to have served this country and to have served the Constitution of these United States. It gave me privilege and it gave me such an honor to be a part of a family in spite of their many difficulties and in spite of their flaws and faults. I am not only proud to have served this country in the form of the Army, but it is a privilege and an honor to serve this country as one of its leaders in the realm of moral responsibility under the cloak of Christianity. So I was asked to address the nation. And when I was asked to do that, I laughed. I laughed because who am I to address the nation? CNN, NBC, or whatever you call that newscast, BBC, Newsmax, none of them are here. But the people, the citizens, are here using their devices to broadcast a message for the world to hear. And anyone that knows me know that I am an individual who preach from passion, who talk from conviction, and I usually do not have a pre-planned outline or sermon as to what I'm going to say, but I have, as many people say, a gut feeling. Yes. It's a burning desire on the inside to address a situation that is changing our dynamic, changing our country, changing the very fabric and fiber for which this country was established. And the citizens, the patriots, those who love this country, are becoming more and more angry. And it seems as if the powers to be are stoking the coals to ignite a flame. It seems as if they want a civil war. And I'm not a history teacher, but I love history. I did not do my thesis on anything dealing with history, but I love history. And history has always proven that when government oppresses the people and the minority seems to be the majority, then there is an uprising. We do not want to see another civil war in this country. It will not go good, it will not be good, and it will not look good. I'm not threatening anybody. I am not a domestic terrorist. I love my country. I gave my time for this country, and I will continuously give my time to this country. But the reality is we have terrorists sitting in government. We have people who do not like this country controlling and ruling the law system, the justice system, and the three-point cord system of our government. The executive, the judicial, and the congressional. And as they give definition as to what terrorists are, we the people tend to look at what they're saying and looking at who they're placing the blame on, instead of realizing that the definition of a terrorist lies within their own realm, within their own bosom. Anytime a person, and I want to be particularly careful because I don't want to call out any names, and nor do I wish to call out any branch of government, but we're not stupid. Sitting in this room today, we have mostly Democrats and a few Republicans and maybe some independents. But you have to agree with history. You have to agree with the reality of truth that borders define nations. Yeah, yes. You have to agree, because many of you contributed money, many of you voted for people who sent your best interests and your wishes to Washington to stand against Russia for trying to take over a country which is defined by its borders, and the name was given Ukraine. Many protesters, which is insane, many protesters who stand against Israel refuse to acknowledge that the only reason why Israel is doing what she is doing now is because what was done to her has to admit, and they acknowledge the fact that there are borders within Israel that define Palestine. It is amazing on how you can, not you, but it's amazing on how those who are in leadership positions can stand on a soapbox and holler out moral convictions against people for invading or destroying or trying to colonize a country when you refuse to acknowledge that our own borders has been erased by I was almost about to say it, by the failed attempt to acknowledge that we are a sovereign nation. Sovereignty of a nation is not defined by who sits in the Oval Office. Sovereignty of a nation is not defined by who is elected into Congress. Sovereignty of this nation is not defined by who is the Chief Justice or in the justice system. That does not define the sovereignty of a nation. What defines the sovereignty of this nation is the Constitution that defines that we are the United States of America, set apart from Canada, Mexico, South America, Central America, and from any other country. We are defined as a nation. And when you erode our borders, you're telling the world that the Constitution is no longer valid and it is void. And if you are declaring that this country no longer has a constitution, then we are no longer a republic. And if we are no longer a republic, then we must declare anarchy. Do I approve of what happened on January 6th? You have not been receiving the full information as to what happened on January 6th. Instead, you've been getting from the media that President Trump incited January 6th, approved January 6th, and encouraged January 6th. You never heard where President Trump asked for federal troops to guard the White House, to guard the Capitol. You never heard these things. Because he did not want things to get out of control. But he told people to exercise their constitutional rights. Once again, I declare unto you that the people in power have eroded and erased and took away our Constitution. So what are we living under? A dictatorship? Oh, they'll tell you the Constitution resides in Washington, D.C., that we must uphold the law. But the law is defined by whoever is in power. The law is not defined by justice and moral conviction. The law is defined. Now, mind you, I want you to listen. I want you to listen clearly. I have no problem with first generations running for public office, or second generations or third generations running for public office. But we must take inventory, we must take stock. And what type of lineage are these people coming from? We have people who are holding political office, who are coming from countries who hate us. Whose theology is kill the infidels. Just because they live in America, and just because they work a 9 to 5, and just because they live next door to you, doesn't mean that their theology and their philosophy and their agreement is not the same as those who sit in Iran and say death to America. And we, so blind, so gullible, so anxious to win people over and bring them into the United States, gladly encourage and engulf that type of rhetoric and belief. And we're wondering why we're wondering why a state, a sovereign state within the United States is slowly but surely being turned over to Islam. I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen. And I know many people are going to say, oh, you're promoting Christianity over all these other religions. No, what I'm promoting is what this country was originally founded upon. This country was not founded upon Islam. This country was not founded upon Hinduism. This country was not founded upon atheism. This country was founded upon Judeo-Christianity, and this is where all of our laws originated from and came to be. And if there was a problem, then this country would not have been sustainable for as long as it has been for all of these years. It would not have been a beacon and an example of what the Almighty God, Jesus Christ himself, could do through people. Never in the history of this nation was it ever fortified in the halls of Congress that says that those who come to this country must assimilate into them. But whenever you come to these shores, whether it was through Ellis Island or however you came through these shores, you assimilated into the culture of the United States of America. And what made this country great was we accepted, tolerated, and embraced your culture. But now you're trying to change the culture of the United States to fit you. And this is why we have problems. This is not Iran. This is not any country of the Middle East. This is not the Caribbean. This is not Africa. This is not India. This is not China. This is not South America. This is not no Latin country. This is the United States of America. You came here. We did not go there. Our values, our morals, our principles. That's why 75 million people are angry and disgusted, because you're saying what they're saying is you're trying to erode our values, our principles, and you get on television and you got these fools who claim to be journalists, and they're not even you want to know what a true journalist was? Walter Cronkite, Barbara Walters. Trying to remember some more. Those were true journalists. These people who are television, they're nothing more than entertainers trying to get ratings. When we recognize and we realize that this is I remember we used to sing, this land is your land. This land is my land. From California to the New York Islands. And I don't remember the rest of the song, but I used to sing that song when I was in nursery school. Never once did any American say, you're not welcome. We embrace everybody. But it is now that we're saying, you're not welcome. Because you're coming here with your bias, with your prejudice, with your ignorance, with your stupidity, and you're trying to destroy the United States. You're trying to make it your country. If your country was so great, go back where you came from. Leave us alone. Leave my country alone. Go where you were born and raised, and you go back there. But you're not going to, as long as there's over 70 million Americans, you will not conquer these United States of America. You will never. Put that in your pipe and smoke it. I am proud to be an American. But Brother James, have you not experienced racism? Have you not experienced discrimination? Have you not experienced? Yada, yada. I've experienced from the days that I was born. I've experienced. Listen, I used to think that New England was free from all racism, bias, and prejudice. New England is worse than the southern states. Systematic racism is prevalent everywhere. Not only here in the United States, it's prevalent all over the world. But it wasn't until I went overseas, it wasn't until I went to England, I love England, that I was educated by, I'm gonna make up my own word, Englanders. And they said, no, we don't have prejudice and racism like you got it in America. If we don't like you, it is because of your character. If we don't like you, it's because you are a leech upon society. But in America, we have superiority complexes and racism that supersedes the knowledge and the reality of who we are as human beings. And this is absolutely unacceptable. So yes, for half a century, I've experienced racism. I've experienced the brokenness and the extreme inequality of the judicial system. I've experienced the blatant and arrogance of class definition or defining in jobs. And it came across from all nationalities. But this is where I was born, and this is where I was raised. And it's ingrained into me as it is into any individual from my era and before. Regardless of what we go through, we will always say, God bless America. I love these United States. And there's been times in which I had to ask, do these United States love me? But I was always taught, and I've always learned, not every black man is my friend, and not every white man is my enemy. So this has taught me not to look at color as the principle of oppression, but look at the depth of the one's character to determine where and who they really are and where they're going. And that's how I cast judgment. I too, in the past, ran for political office on many occasions when I was living out in Seattle, Washington. And this is the example of me saying not to trust every black man is my friend and not every white person is my enemy. I ran. And because, now listen, that's why anyone that knows me knows that I said, don't join a party because that's your culture. Learn what the party stands for and then fit in where you belong. I thought because I was African American, black, Negro, colored, whatever you want to call me, I thought I'm supposed to be Democrat. So what did I do? People within the community say, you should run to represent us. So I went to the Democrat Party. And I remember walking downstairs into their function, and I wanted to introduce myself. And as I was walking in there, I'm waiting because people were gathering and talking, and I'm saying, hi, no one spoke. Go to the, hi, no one spoke. Hi, and they looked at me like I had a double head. And then a lady came by and says, how may I help you? I said, yes, hi, my name, and I gave my name, and I turned around and I said, I'm here because I wanted to introduce myself to y'all, and I said, next year is the opportunity for me to run for an office. And I said, the community has asked me to do so. And so she turned around and said, the very first thing that came out her mouth was, where do you live? I said, I told her where I live. She said, well, what fraternity or what organization are you a part of? I'm like, well, excuse me? I said, should that really matter? And she said, how often or what have you done within our organization for us to recognize you or even consider you to be viable or a candidate? We already have one. And I said, I know you got one. I said, the people don't want the person that you got. And so that's why they asked me, because they heard what I had to say, and that's why they asked me to consider running. And they said, well, I don't know you. I said, okay, that's fine. I said, I would like to get to know you, and I'd like for you to get to know me. And so that's why I told you, a year from now, there will be an election, and I would like to be the candidate to run in that position against the candidate that y'all promoting. And they turned around and said, man, you crazy. And they said, well, we'll get right back to you. So I sat there for about 2.5 hours waiting for someone to get back to me, and no one came. So I left. And I was angry, I was upset. And then I went over to the Republican Party. And I'm going to explain both to you. And so when I went over to the Republican Party, I didn't see, at least in the area that I was in, I didn't see anyone that looked like me. But I saw everyone that was me. Does that make sense? I didn't see anyone that looked like me, but I saw everyone that was me, an American. So the young lady asked me a question. Why do you want to be a Republican? And I said, you know, I don't know much about what y'all stand for and what you believe in, but I know a little bit about the Republican history. But I'm not interested in telling you what the history says. Let me tell you what I stand for and what I believe. And I begin to tell them how I believe in the sanctity of life and the moral responsibility of doing unto others as you would have them to do unto you, and how to give the respect to the elders, and how to follow and obey the golden rule. I began to spell out things that I believe that was a conviction to me. And by the time I finished, it said, you have to run. And every single event and convention that they were having, they had me there. If I couldn't pay for it, they paid for it. These were white people who embraced me, who loved me, versus the whites and the blacks of the Democrat Party who ridiculed and didn't want nothing to do with me. But hold up. It's not all roses and puppy dogs. When I got to the convention, I was going to be one of the keynote speakers. But the head of the Republican Party of that state was a black woman. And she grilled me something fierce. She began to question what I believe. And when I finished talking to her, she said, you're an idealist. And she said, an idealist can never get elected. An idealist has no place in this party or any other party. And I'm like, are you serious? I became angry. I said, how dare you define me by your standard and what you believe? An idealist? I said, you tell me what is an idealist. Why can't an idealist? She said, because you live in the clouds and we function in reality. And I told her the problem with your reality is there's no truth. Your reality is based upon the coming together of like-minded people to do what you feel is necessary. Where an idealist says, I'm living in a community of people who may not and do not think like me. Let us find a common denominator for us to work together so there can be peace. She called that an idea. She said, that's not realistic. I said, what kind of people are you dealing with? I said, the community from which I come from, the people for which I know, not all of them think the same way. Everybody wants to live. Everybody wants to be in peace. Everybody wants a government that works. And they can care less if there is a donkey or an ass sitting in office to do it. Oh, they're both the same thing, a donkey or an ass. An elephant or an ass sitting in the office to do it. They want somebody that's willing to do it. Then she hit me with something that shook the very core, the very foundation of my existence. She said, because you do not own a home, you're not a viable candidate. And I said, I live in the community and I have lived in the community for years. What do owning a home have to do with my qualification and my ability to serve the people? What does that got to do with the tea in China? And she said, it has a lot. And I said, you know what? You can take your home. And that's when one of the other constituents quickly moved me out the way. Needless to say, I did not speak at the convention. The awesome thing about those people were I was elected not to the political office, even though I ran, but I was elected into a lower position. But what caused me not to win was I was running against a female and an incumbent who took the seat prior because the one that had it had to leave. So she filled it, and now she was coming up for a re-election, and I was going after her. Man, I went up to the state capitol, and all of them up in there, they were rooting for me. They said, yes, we need you, we want you, all that. I mean, I was stoked, I was excited. And you know, politics is a dirty job because you have to kiss a lot of butts to get anywhere and anything done in life. And I never learned, I never went to school, I never had a mentor, I never had anyone to teach me how to kiss anyone's butt. I always believed to stand straight and tall, my back stern and fit, and tell it like it is. I've always learned that my way is never the best way, and to always seek counsel amongst others, that I'm only as great as those who I surround myself with. And if I surround myself with people like me, I would never be great. So I must surround myself by people who are greater, smarter, and better than I am. And nowhere written in any book or scroll that says that anyone that is greater, better than I must think like me. So therefore, I was hurt, but yet I maintained the course. I never got elected. Ran a couple times, but then I just backed off. But I had no problem going Democrat because that's what I thought I was supposed to do. And I was embraced by Republican because the standard and the principle for which I live is the core value for which they believe. But yet when I stand before people, much of what I believe is Democrat based and Republican sound. It sounds confusing. You got a name for everything: moderate, liberal, conservative, right wing, left wing, duck wing, back wing, whatever you want to call it. What it is I live the life that people live. I understand poverty. I understand poverty. The average Republican understands poverty, but their mindset is, let us not wallow in poverty. Let's do something, or let's seek the help to get out of poverty. So I have no problem administrating things to help people get out of poverty. And then I also don't have a problem in cutting off the supplies to make you become self-sufficient, so you don't have to stay in poverty. I'm a pro-lifer. I firmly believe 100% that life begins when the sperm connects with the egg. That's 101 biology, common sense. Where did you exist? That's why I said our government has been hijacked by terrorists, because we got a bunch of people who have no common sense whatsoever. Where did you come from? You're telling me you did not exist until you came out of the womb? That's about as stupid as a hen wearing spandex. It just makes no sense. And this is what we're doing. This is what we are accepting. If you want to have an abortion, that's your business. Yes, government has no right dictating as to what happens to your body. That's your body. You can do whatever you want to go jump off the bridge, which I hope you do not, and I'm not encouraging, but that's your business. If you want to lay around and sleep around and get pregnant every single time and then kill the life that's in you, that's your business. But it should not be funded on the backs of citizens who do not believe that your irresponsibility is my responsibility to take care of. And this is what is happening in our nation, in our country today. We must have a backbone, and we must say enough is enough. During the 50s and 60s, Dr. Martin Luther King, in which I don't know if you can see it, but behind me I have my grandfather. My grandfather, he's over 96 years old. He served in World War II. I believe he also served in Korea. He was friends with the Tuskegee men. He did many great things for this country. He walked, served, and advocated with and along and for Dr. Martin Luther King. He was a civil rights activist, and he did great and marvelous things in the state of Connecticut and the city of New Haven, for which he lived. He was ran out of Dumas, Arkansas, because those that were down there did not appreciate and did not value, because a lot of the black folks was coming together and they were going to become successful and make a very wealthy and livable and plausible environment. And the whites did not like that, did not want that, so they ran the family out of Dumas, Arkansas, and he came up to Connecticut. But he spent his entire life preaching and advocating not only for social justice, but not only for equality, but for love and respect. He's been preaching for over 60-something years. And so I picked up the mantle. And the mantle that I picked up was social justice cannot be justice if it's not social. And social means I have no respect of person. But being a Christian, which has now been pegged as a terrorist, as some congressional people has called us, well then I am a terrorist, and I'm proud to be a terrorist, because I'm going to terrorize you every step in every way that I can, because for Jesus I live and for Jesus I die. Blessed be the name of Jesus Christ, who is God, who is Lord. There is no other God but Jesus Christ himself. And I stand with the nation of Israel, and they declare, "Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, he is one." And I stand boldly behind that statement. So then I'm a terrorist, terrorizing the world to live in love. During the 70s, they had a song. I don't know if y'all remember, but I remember it. I'm not a songster, so I'm not going to try to really bellow out. But what the world needs now is love, sweet love. That's the only thing. You know, a lot of these songs I forget the words to. This is ridiculous. I forgot the words to that song. But y'all know the song. Look it up. What the world needs now is love. What? That is so true. Love covers a lot of things. Love causes an individual to see things better in a way that no one else sees. Love will make you get up in the morning when you feel like staying in the bed and covering your head. Love will cause you to open the door for a stranger, an elderly person that you don't know. Love will cause you to stand when a woman comes in to the door. Love will cause you to pull a chair out, not from underneath the woman, but to pull a chair out and have her to sit down. Love will cause you to be respectful and mindful for who you're dealing with. Love will cause you to look at another individual as being your equal, because they are human, just like you. This is what I advocate. This is what I preach. This is what I believe in. This is what I stand for. And Jesus said, "By this shall all men know that you are my disciples, by the love we have one for another." And if this makes me a terrorist, then I'm going to be the best damn terrorist there is. I'm calling for every American, from the backwoods of Virginia to the shining shores of California, to the lobster palace of Maine, to the sweet place of Texas and Florida, from coast to coast, north, south, east, and west. I'm calling for every citizen of the United States of America to declare and say, enough is enough. It doesn't matter what color, what shade you are. We are all descendants of those who founded this country. And we too can declare, "Give me liberty," or "Give me death." But you must understand those that say, "Well, then I'll give you death." You got to understand something. To kill us will destroy this nation and destroy you. The so-called utopia that you think that you are creating is nothing more than a delusional aberration of the figment of your mind. We will not go quietly in the night. We will not stand by and allow our nation to be hijacked and taken by people who do not love and do not respect what this nation stood for, we will not be silent anymore. As you selectively crucify and demonize those who stand for the principles for which this country was founded upon, we will no longer stand quiet. You can have the streets and protest and march. And you can convince the world that there's more against us than that is for us. But when you ignite the flame, the fire, then you will realize your own demise was at your hand. When you dismantle the very fabric for which this country was founded upon, then you're standing against the Almighty God. And because many of you do not believe that He exists, it doesn't change the reality that He is God. And if you honestly believe that you're going to take a country that out of the mouth of its founder, George Washington, and many others that said this country is going to be a beacon, a light set high on a hill where people can see our works and glorify the Father, which is, if you think that you're going to dismantle the prophecy and the intent and the vision of this nation to make it into a utopia under a class of delusion, you got another thing coming. The cost of liberty must have bloodshed. And how many of our people who stood for the liberty of this nation have shed their blood? You mock and you trample on the memories of those who fought in our Revolutionary War. You mock and you trample upon the memories of those who fought in World War I, World War II, Korean War, Vietnam, Afghanistan. You mock all of my brothers and sisters who gave their lives, who shed their blood for the people so that they can have liberty. You mock us. And you honestly believe that the sacrifice that was made is irrelevant today because you think that you have knowledge, you think that you have power, because you're allowing these billionaires to control and have the segment on television to brainwash countless lives and millions of people all over the world. You think you won? I got news for you. Let this be your Waterloo. Let this be your Confederate state. Let this be you fighting against God to destroy what He created and what He built. You show me any nation that was made like the United States. Any nation. You think you want to win? President Trump is not an angel. He is not brother. There's no male version for Teresa. He's not a male version of Mother Teresa. He says what he means and he means what he says. But I tell you one thing, something has to be wrong when everybody is attacking this one one man. When every president that sat in his office does things far worse than what he has done. These candidates that's standing up here now, going after this man in his own party, you should be ashamed of yourself. When things were good, you ate from his table. Now that the wolves have turned on this man, you are also part of the equation, and you're no different and you're no good. Why would I cast a vote for you in office when you've shown your true color now? You just shown me that when the going gets tough, you're going to turn and become Benedict Arnold. Why should I even be bothered or care anything about what you got to say? As I pray that God bless the United States of America, I'm praying that God will bless and continuously bless President Donald J. Trump. Oh, you a radical Republican. No, I love John F. Kennedy. I like Dwight D. Eisenhower was Republican. I definitely love Ronald Reagan. I love some of the things that Richard Nixon did. But I also love the charisma and character of President Bill Clinton. I love some of the things he did, except for how I'll leave that alone. I'm not talking about Monica Lewinsky. I'm talking about the things that he did to people of color. So you can't say that I am pro-Republican. I am pro-human. In conclusion, these institutions that are allowing these protests, insane protests, the government is not going to do it. I hope the next person that get in office will do this. They will penalize every institution that allow this insane hypocrisy. And these tenured professors, I hope and pray that the government withholds every funding from these institutions until the tenuity is eradicated and removed. There should be no more, across the board, no more tenuity, no more permanent status for professors, because we have some local, crazy, absolutely insane, delusional, illusional, I don't care how you want it, the mental case people sitting in our institutions, and they are filling our young people's mind with a bunch of crap. And these are the people that's going to leave the world soon. You should be worried. You should be scared. Because what's coming out of these institutions will affect your life. And we're seeing it today. This is not an example of what was in the 60s. This is insane. This is outright hatred. The 60s said, let peace, let love. This is death to Israel. Wipe Israel off the face of the earth. How can you compare this to the 60s? All lives matter. All lives matter. I don't know. It's been a long time since I've been in school. In conclusion, I don't know if they still yet do the Pledge of Allegiance. But I grew up. I gave a pledge to this flag because this flag represented history. This flag represented why I exist. This flag represented, even though my ancestors had to ride the back of the bus, we still was able to ride the bus. This flag represented, even though my ancestors came through the back of the house, we still had a job. This flag represented that if we cry loud and spare not and lift up our voice like a trumpet and show God's people their transgressions, he will hear from heaven. And because he heard from heaven, he had people sitting in Congress that wrote laws to protect us and gave us civil rights. This flag did that for us. So I do pledge allegiance to the flag of these United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. That's what I believe. That's the reality of truth. That is truth. And we can never deny that. God bless you all. Let me just say this. Whenever the President of the United States stands, he talks from a podium. The podium has a seal on the front to signify his position and his office and his authority. Everyone recognizes what that seal means and what that seal represents. Wherever that seal is, you know the president or his office is there, and you must listen to whatever it says. That seal carries power and weight. Well, I have no other seal but one, and that is the cross. This seal that stands, that's stamped on this podium, signifies the power and authority for which I stand in. It signifies the fact that this office, the cross, the office of the cross, enables me to stand with moral conviction against a world, a sea of people with multi reasonings and ideals, and stand on the principle that his office, the cross, his office, Jesus Christ, already paid the price and had the victory, and all I need to do is follow the mandate of the cross to fulfill his purpose and will in life, and know that all things will work together for good to them who love God and for those who have been called by his purpose. And as long as I'm under his shield, then I don't worry about any weapon that is formed against you, me, or any one of us. For though it is formed, it will not prosper. And every lying tongue that rises against the truth, believe me, there will come a time and day they will be condemned. For Ecclesiastes clearly stated, there is a time and a season for everything. This is the time now that our President Trump is going to be persecuted. This is the time. This is the time that a lot of delusional and crazy things are. This is the time. But you can rest assured there's going to be a measure of time where the truth will rise, where those who had enough will rise, and the revolution will begin. Revolution of truth I'm talking about. I'm not advocating for violence, for I believe in nonviolence. But I also believe in protecting by any means necessary the country for which we believe in, the country for which we died for, the country for which our forefathers lived and died for. This is what I believe, and this is the truth. God bless you. God bless America. God bless the United States of America.